sığdıracağız artık. Ne yapalım? Şöyle şu tarafa.
Bir bilgisayarın aslında.
Kerem bilgisayarı.
Olur. Olabiliyor. Ha, süper. Bir deneyelim mi yansın?
Evet, bir deneyelim. Denemeden olmaz.
Böyle daha rahat olacak bizim için. Kerem aç.
Benimki biri
Yok,
benim de.
birisi senin.
Aha. Evet, biri benim. Hiç açılmadı. Aha.
Kerem parmak şeyini kaldırabilir misin?
Kaldıramam.
Sıkıntı olmasın.
Özür dilerim. Tabii. Öne alacağım. Şöyle. Aynen öyle. Bir de müsaadenizle.
İki ekran olsun.
Uzatılmış mı olsun?
Uzatılmış olmasın. İki ekran olsun ayrı ayrı. Çünkü notlar olacak.
Ha, uzatılmış. O tamam, ben anladım.
Heh.
Şöyle extend olacak.
Extend'de mi oluyor?
Evet, notlarınızı sunum orada full olacak.
Evet,
Notlarınız
biz
burada
burada
olacak.
notlarımızı.
Görmedi. Buradan görüntünün gelmesi lazım değil mi? Evet, şu an o bizim bilgisayarın görüntüsü. Aydın görmedi. Ben şimdi bir ihtimal. Tamam.
Biz şurada otururuz.
Ben şöyle daha iyi
Ha tamam.
Nasıl?
O zaman şuraya minder atalım yani.
Bence sanki böyle olsanız daha iyi ya. Hani
öyle de izleyicilere bakacağız ya, sunuyu
kartları
test raporları gözüküyor. Bir dakika, ben onu alayım mı? Bekleteceğim mi? Son ayarını da yapayım. Ha, şu an oldu zaten. Şu an sunum nerede? Masa üstünde
Sunum
var mı?
nerede Kerem? Nerede?
Şu mudur?
Evet.
O notu görebilmeniz için de küçük bir ayar yapacağım. User present, okey.
Tamam.
Notlarınız sonraki slaytlarda var galiba.
Şimdi
Büyüteyim mi biraz not bölümünü?
bu olmasın bir sonraki şey, sadece notlar olsun.
Şimdi o olmama ihtimali şöyle yok. Küçültebiliriz. Çünkü
Aynen, sanki yapabiliyorduk ya. Ya bu şekilde ben yapamam ama. Benimki çok fazla.
tamam, şöyle yapın.
Bu next slide'ı yok edemiyor muyuz?
Next slide yok edebiliyor musunuz? Valla bilmiyorum. Onunla ilgili bir şey söyleyemem şimdi. Şimdi bir sonraki slide'a geçip bakın.
Aslında bayağı da uzun ama.
Yani çok büyük. Evet.
Doğru, tamam.
Birazcık çok az bir şey. Gerçi sen ayarlarsın onları kendine göre.
Yapabilirsiniz.
Tamam.
Evet. Ben bir
Tamam, teşekkür
çünkü
ederim.
ne anlatayım.
Yaklaşırsanız çok güzel olur.
Tamam.
Zaten yayında sesiniz çok net. Buradakiler böyle değil. Tamam. Başlayabiliriz artık. Evet.
Tamam. Ellerim titriyor. Şu çalışıyor değil mi? Yok, buradan geçeceksin.
Ha aynen tamam.
Geçiyor da.
Tamam.
Thanks for inviting me.
Başlıyorum o zaman.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests. My name is Hazal, and these are my colleagues, Irem and Kerem. We are from Life Energy. I would like to say that we are delighted to be part of the COP27, and it's a great honor to represent Turkey as Life Energy in this respected conference. My colleagues and I have prepared a presentation on the voluntary carbon market in Turkey. Now is the time to glance at our agenda. I would like to briefly touch on our agenda. First of all, we will introduce the Life Energy to you and then review the Turkey's position in the voluntary carbon market. In this context, we will analyze Turkey's historical background and the current situation in the VCM. Afterwards, Irem will go over the following topics regarding the voluntary carbon market projects in Turkey. These topics are listed, validated and verified projects and their types, projects with issued and retired carbon credits, trends in amount of retired carbon credits. Later on, Kerem will share with you some co-benefit analysis that we have prepared based on verified projects in Turkey. And finally, we will present our evaluations regarding Turkey's recent situation in the VCM and conclude the presentation. Life Energy is an Ankara-located leading consultancy company that operates in the fields of capacity building projects, carbon footprint and offsetting, emission trading systems, voluntary carbon markets, and renewable energy markets. The team at Life Energy has 13 years of experience in the climate change and voluntary carbon markets, and 16 years of expertise in the voluntary carbon market. Life Energy is the first and most active company involved in the MRV process in Turkey under the MRV capacity building projects of GIZ and World Bank's Partnership for Market Readiness. Life Energy provides emission reduction consultancy in Turkey, including wind, solar, hydro, geothermal, landfill gas to electricity, biogas, and energy efficiency projects since 2009. Until now, the team at Life Energy has developed more than 150 gold standard VCS and GCC projects in the voluntary carbon market. Now, I would like to review Turkey's position in the voluntary carbon market by considering its historical background and the current events. The voluntary carbon market in Turkey started with the approval of the 30 megawatt Bares wind power plant project, which was developed in 2005. In addition to this, projects for the VCM, organized within the framework of the environmental and social responsibility principles, have also been developed in Turkey since 2005. The VCS and Gold Standard are international voluntary GHG offset programs, and Turkish carbon market projects are developed primarily under one of these two standards, the gold standard and the VCS. As of third quarter of 2022, Turkey had 182 projects registered under GS and a further 142 under the VCS. In total, 324 projects are currently in operation. In recent years, Global Carbon Council projects have become widespread in Turkey. There are approximately 200 projects submitted to the GCC from Turkey. These projects are now listed status and registration processes are in progress. And finally, according to the issued credits, Turkey is the first active country under the GS and the 7th active country under the VCS. As you can see from this slide, according to the number of issues of carbon credits by country under the GS, Turkey is at the top. However, if you look at the verified carbon standards, Turkey falls to number 7. There are 170 carbon credit types and renewable energy projects now account for 38% of the market surplus. The most common project types in Turkey are wind and hydropower plant projects. Furthermore, solar projects have also become widespread among all renewable projects. In the recent times, some project types such as hydro, solar and wind have not been accepted in Turkey by either VCS and gold standard since January 2020. This is because of the fact that these particular types of projects are not eligible under GS and VCS if they are located within an upper middle or high income country. However, gold standard and VCS still continue to accept some project types in Turkey such as biogas, biomass or landfill. Currently, all project types in Turkey can be registered under the GCC standard. And finally, ICR, Sour Carbono and Biocarbon have been accepting carbon projects from Turkey these days. Now, Iran will go over the VCM projects in Turkey with some numerical data.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be in front of you here today. My name is İrem Bilir. I want to thank Hazal for sharing the information regarding voluntary carbon market projects, historical background and current events in Turkey. Now I will continue by highlighting all VCM projects numerical data in Turkey. Actually, there's a lot of information from around the world about VCM that we can reach. However, the data is more limited within Turkey, and here I aim to present a numerical analysis for you. Afterwards, I will interpret the results based upon this analysis. First of all, I will focus on the status and types of projects under both gold standard and VCS. As Hazal mentioned before, these are two standards most present in our country. Secondly, I will show the current numbers of both issued and retired carbon credits under both standards. And finally, we will examine the current trends in the amount of retired carbon credits over time. To begin with, I will show the status of projects under both gold standard and VCS. As we can see from the gold standard pie chart, 40% of all projects in Turkey are under the listed status. Furthermore, 19% are under the registered status. And finally, 41% are under the verified status of gold standard. The other pie chart represents VCS projects in Turkey. As we can see, the percentage under the verified status is comparable for both standards. It's 45% under VCS. However, the percentage under listed status and registered status is clearly different. 23% fall under listed status and 32% are under registered. And now I want to focus on the types of registered and verified projects, since the listed projects are unclear now. Out of a total of 182 verified and registered projects, 59% are wind projects. A further 21% are hydro projects. The rest of the projects all fall beneath under 10%. They are landfill at 7%, biogas at 4%, solar at 4%, and finally geothermal at 3%. When we look at the pie chart, it's clear that wind power plant projects take up the majority of all verified and registered projects under gold standards. Moving on now, I want to continue by looking at the numbers under the VCS. Out of a total of 142 verified and registered projects, 73% are hydro projects. A further 12% are wind projects. And the rest of the projects all fall beneath 10%. They are solar at 6%, energy efficiency at 5%, and finally biogas at 3%. When we look at the pie chart, it's clear that hydropower plant projects take up the majority. Due to the fact that when the VCS was applying in Turkey, there were many different hydroelectric power plant projects in development inside Turkey. And that's why the hydropower plant projects have the highest share under the VCS. Now I will continue with the current numbers of both issued and retired carbon credits under gold standard and VCS. The outer rings show issued carbon credits and the inner rings show retired, and dark colors represent carbon credits in Turkey. If I can draw your attention to the left hand pie chart, as you can see from the outer ring, the number of issued carbon credits to Turkey by gold standard is approximately 52 million, while the total number of issued credits is approximately 228 million, which represents 23% of worldwide issuance. And furthermore, if you look at the inside ring, the number of retired carbon credits by Turkey is 33 million, and the total number is 121 million, which represents 28% of worldwide credits retired. Moving on to VCS, as is shown in the outer ring, the number of issued carbon credits is 38 million, which represents 4% of worldwide issuance. And if you look at the inside ring, the number of retired carbon credits is 13 million, which represents 3% of worldwide credits retired. As you can see, the difference in the amount of both issued and retired credits under gold standard and VCS is not so big. However, the percentages are vastly different. This is due to the number of Apollo projects under the VCS. When we focus solely on the credits issued and retired in Turkey, this graph clearly shows this relationship. Looking at the first graph, we can see that out of approximately 52 million issued carbon credits, there have been approximately 33 million retired under the gold standards. And when we look at the VCS, out of approximately 38 million issued carbon credits, there have been approximately 13 million retired. Finally, let's take a look at the amount retired carbon in Turkey and the trend in this market. In the graph, the blue line represents the retired carbon credits under the VCS, and the orange line represents the gold standard. For this analysis, the period between January 2020 and June 2022, when the market was the busiest, has been selected. As you can see, it's a graph with many fluctuations. And there can be many different reasons for these fluctuations. When we look at the overall picture, there can be many different reasons, but the most striking point here is the amount of carbon retired under VCS in October 2021. When we look at the overall picture, what happened in this period? Although the amount under VCS is generally below the gold standards. According to our analysis, it has been concluded that 45% of carbon retired between this period was tokenized by crypto projects. And especially in October 2021, almost all of the credits were tokenized by crypto projects. As you can see, this is a very sharp jump in demand for the crypto. Although VCS is currently blocking this tokenization, the process is ongoing. We expect that the viability of VCS will continue after this transaction is confirmed. In conclusion, I have tried to interpret the voluntary carbon market in Turkey through some numerical data. I have mentioned the status of the projects in Turkey under these two standards, the type of the projects, the amount of issued and retired carbon credits, and finally the trends in retired carbon in Turkey. I hope this analysis and our interpretations will create a perspective for you. Kerem will now share with you some co-benefit analysis that we have prepared based upon the verified projects within Turkey. And thank you for listening.
Hello everybody. Hello everybody. I am Kerem, and first of all, thanks for my colleagues Eren for highlighting all VCM projects data in Turkey. And I'm going to talk about outputs of core benefit for renewable energy power plants in Turkey, which are issued credits at least once actually. As it is known, only skill of renewable energy plant is not to generate green energy. I can hold this like that. That is why I'm going to focus of co-benefits of them. Before looking base data for co-benefit analysis, I would highly welcome. Okay. Before looking base data for co-benefit analysis, I would highly welcome to present Turkey's electricity generation pie chart by technology type, and as a final value, more than 64% of national grid is still feeding by non-renewable resources as of end of 2021. Sorry. First of all, I'm going to take a look at data of analysis to clarify the baseline of analysis. The first step of determining that data is about the number of power plants under the gold standard, verified carbon standard, and in Turkey as total power plants which have rights to produce and sell the electricity with license in the first row. Just right here, I shall say that unlicensed power plants in Turkey, almost all of them solar projects by the way, are excluded in the first row. As a result, we have 206 power plants to take a look at the co-benefits of them, which have issues under voluntary carbon markets. As we can see from the table, while more than half of solar and wind projects have made issues at least once under the gold standard and VCS, this share is below 10% in biogas and geothermal power plants. And as a result, 27% of the power plants in Turkey have benefited from carbon credits at least once as 12 October 2022. Then we can take a look at the data of installed power capacity of projects under gold standard, verified carbon standard, and renewable energy power plants in Turkey in the first row. When it comes to installed power share in the standards, landfill, solar, and wind power plants have more than 50% according to total capacity of Turkey's renewable energy power plants share. Although share of verified project numbers only reached 27% in the previous slides, 27%, and for the installed power capacities part, it can be reached 44% for installed power capacities. At this point, we can say that the verified projects are benefited from carbon credits more than 40% in terms of share of installed capacity of renewable energy power plants in national grid. Now we can look our base data, which is verified electricity generation in both standards, to analyze the co-benefits of renewable energy power plants in Turkey. With this combined graph, you can see the differences in verified electricity production by technology types. It is obvious that wind and hydro technologies are leading in electricity generation under both standards. So next slide will show up the first co-benefit of renewable energy power plants, which we call emission reduction. Again, we see the same picture as in the previous slide. For all type of technologies except one of them, which has additional and real emission reduction according to other project baseline scenario. The landfill projects for this scenario surely has significant amount of emission reduction more than other projects baseline scenarios actually. For the emission reduction as main co-benefit, we may take a look at this line graph to compare the amount of differences in emissions under different voluntary carbon standards. For this case, gold standard and VCS, we can say. Sure, we should ignore the data of 2020 and 2021 because there is still ongoing verifications in the both standards, and that is why we ignore the 2020 year and 2021 for seeing the better view. Even though we don't have cumulative data for this line graph, it is still obvious that there is a trend, upward trend, increasing year by year, and it, yeah, in total are increasing year by year with upward trend, we can say, for this line graph. And the second benefit of renewable energy power plants is avoidance of wastewater discharge. As can be clearly seen in this chart also, verified electricity productions by the end of 2021 contributed to avoidance of wastewater discharge of more than 3.5 billion cubic meters. This amount almost equal to amount of water flowing from the Nile River any 11 days according to conservative calculations. Then we can look at the third core benefit. One of the indisputable core benefits of renewable energy power plants is the avoidance of natural gas imported. As Turkey, we import natural gas to generate electricity, and share of imported natural gas is over 98%. So with this chart, the importance of using renewable energy for this type of countries is shown very clearly. As a result, more than $3.5 billion has been avoided by renewable energy power plants to import the natural gas. For the last co-benefit of renewables in this analysis, we have direct and long-term jobs created with installation of these power plants. In this study, analysis was performed by taking the average of employment data provided by the relevant projects to the standards for each megawatt electrical power. As seen in chart, wind power plants and hydropower plants have significant contributions to direct and long-term job creation. As a result of this conservative analysis, 4,249 people have been employed by operation of these power plants. In all, I would like to present all data and output of co-benefits as a result of analysis in single chart to your kind attention. And I would like to highlight that voluntary carbon projects within the scope of this co-benefits analysis are projects have issues at least once gold standard and BCS as of 12 October 2022. And yes, and now my colleague Hazal will take the floor again to make a conclusion.
Thank you to my colleagues for their contributions. Before concluding our presentation, I would like to carry out the overall evaluation. In this conclusion part of the presentation, I would like to evaluate Turkey's potential in terms of the types of projects developed. As we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the most common project types in Turkey are wind and hydropower plant projects. However, recently, the world has been gravitating towards more nature-based solution projects, and the interest in the renewable energy-based carbon credits has been decreasing. Since most of the projects in our country are in the field of renewable energy, Turkey has started to be in a disadvantageous position in this sense.